I think that there's plenty of reasons that we have to fear from Ketanji Brown Jackson being on the Supreme Court, and the answers that she's given to the committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee, are only part of them. Of course, there's the viral segment where she wouldn't answer a question from Marsha Blackburn about what is the definition of a woman. She won't answer any question about when life begins for the fetus in a womb. And she also has given extremely evasive and uh, dissembling answers about her history of sentencing sexual predators. And this is just what's happened during the confirmation hearing. Now, the other reason I think that we have to, stand as hard as possible against this nomination is the way that the media is attempting to portray this as some sort of entitled issue, like that she is entitled to be on the Supreme Court simply by virtue of being a black woman. This is an article from Newsweek by Kesha Ram Hinsdale. And I think it's funny that her name's Kesha because she sounds about as intelligent as the singer Kesha. She says, for every Ketanji Brown Jackson, be a Cory Booker. If you haven't seen Cory Booker's segment where he is supposedly doing his job as senator of advise and consent for the Supreme Court nomination, spare yourself because it is nauseating. I'm not going to play it here. I will, I'll put an archived link over here in the description, but it was nauseating because basically Cory Booker was doing what the media often does whenever the subject of anyone who is of a certain identity group is involved in a spotlight position, right? This is the same type of thing that happened in the Olympics last year with Simone Biles. When Simone Biles backed out of a competition citing mental health and her stress as the reason that she would not perform in a competition in gymnastics. It doesn't matter whether you care about gymnastics or not. It doesn't matter whether you followed her career. The media's embrace of that excuse that she thought that her mental health was more important than actually showing up to do what she had been chosen to represent America for. They decided that how dare anyone criticize a person who happens to be of a certain race and gender. And that is really the type of behavior that we're starting to see from people who are being placed in positions of leadership. Now, definitely somebody on the gymnastics team, the U.S. gymnastics team, is not nearly as important in terms of her role in shaping the future of the country as somebody who's sitting on the Supreme Court, which means that this current problem is much, much worse. Being on the Supreme Court is, I think, one of the most it's one of the most grave jobs that anybody can have as an American because your opinions basically shape the way that judges will rule, often for decades, right? And maybe even permanently. There are cases that are in American jurisprudence, such as Marbury versus Madison, that they just can't be reversed because the precedent is so strong and it's been seared into the legal framework of American jurisprudence that it can't be reversed, right? If it were to be reversed, it would be an earthquake that would make people question the very foundation of American government. And some people would say, well, something like that needs to happen, right? We need some major revolutionary change in America, and that's really why I'm trying to say that, with all due respect to Brown Jackson and her family and the people that raised her and all of her mentors and all of the people that are vouching for her professionalism, she is completely unfit from a character standpoint to be on the Supreme Court. And this isn't because I'm saying that I'm in a position where I am fit to be on the Supreme Court, but it does not take a lawyer to understand that this woman should not be on the Supreme Court. Just like it shouldn't take a biologist to determine what a woman is, right? If you're a person who can't state basic definitions of terms that are things that everybody knows from the age of 5 and younger, even, you shouldn't be in any sort of way deciding major cases at the highest level of American law. And this article goes and cheers on Cory Booker. It says, so fellow Senator Cory Booker, a black man, had come to her aid. And when he did, his words washed over me as I know they did so many women of color. In response to Judge Jackson being diminished, berated, and unfairly accused and questioned, an all too commonplace occurrence for women of color, Booker did a rare thing. He saw and named it, and then he counteracted it. You have earned this spot, Senator Booker said. You are worthy. You are a great American. And then she goes on and says, as the first woman of color to serve in the Vermont State Senate, I have had to steel myself for many moments where I was made to feel like I didn't belong, not in office, not in the halls of power, not even in the state I love and serve. It should be noted that I am a brown woman, and the only black woman I served with in the Vermont legislature, Representative Kia Morris, was made to feel so unwelcome and unsafe in her community that she had to resign from her position and move to a different county. This is what I think is so ridiculous about this. First of all, these are people who they're using their identity and their status in order to try to boost the candidacy, the nomination of somebody else, regardless of that person's qualifications. Meaning that because the author of this article, Kesha Ram Hinsdale, feels that she was made to not feel belonging in the Supreme Court, in her opinion, that means that she automatically does qualify to be in the Supreme Court. Your feelings of inadequacy and being unacceptable within some setting do not validate somebody else's reasons for being or not being in a certain position, right? Being on the Supreme Court, let me just be clear, you are allowed to have different perspectives on the law. There's a reason I think that Elena Kagan, for all of the reasons that I would disagree with everything that she said, in terms of her, most of her rulings and decisions and opinions that she stated, can be on the Supreme Court. And it has nothing to do with the fact that she is a woman. It has nothing to do with the fact that she's Jewish. She can be on the Supreme Court because she uses her judicial philosophy in order to map out exactly why she rules in a certain way. And us as citizens and the people that are litigants in the court and the other justices, they have the right to agree or disagree with those elements of her philosophy. On the other hand, Ketanji Brown Jackson, when confronted with certain statements on the place of a woman in society and what the definition of a woman is in terms of legal status from former Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the recently departed Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she couldn't really offer an opinion on that. And then she refused to offer an opinion on what a woman is. Ketanji Brown Jackson has repeatedly, of her own volition, given low sentences for the worst criminals in our society, sexual predators, simply because she wanted to pass the buck to other bodies, such as probationary boards, such as sentencing commissions, and things like that. Um, I feel personally that you cannot afford to put somebody who is willing to uh, effectively defang the law and how it applies to some of the worst offenses that a person can possibly commit, and then defer any responsibility on her part to somebody else, right? If you have a perspective on why somebody who is molesting children or disseminating porn that involves children should not get the maximum sentence of the law, and you won't take responsibility for it, I don't think that you deserve to be on the bench, not of the Supreme Court, not of any court. And this is why I will say, despite the fact that at this point, Joe Manchin has committed. I don't know why he's committed. I don't care if it's because he feels that Joe Biden deserves a nominee on the court or a justice on the court. I don't care what Joe Manchin's reasons are. If you live in a state like West Virginia, where Joe Manchin is a senator, if you live in Arizona, where what's her name, Senator Kirsten Sinema is, if you live in John Tester's state, Montana, if you live in any of these states where swing Democratic senators live, you should write letters, get on the phone to your senator's office, and say to them that their statement that they're going to sit and vote in favor of this nominee is a betrayal of every person who has been a sex trafficking victim, every person who's been a victim of other child sex crimes. It is something that is, it has to be a basic standard in America that we as citizens allow as little grace as possible to those who would prey on the weakest among us. And the weakest are children. Obviously, there's others. There's handicapped people, but children at the basic level are the weakest in terms of their ability to defend themselves against abuse. So, I mean, it is going to be a painful sight because I do believe that she is going to be on the court. And unfortunately, because of outlets like MSNBC, she's going to be shielded from real accountability. They're always going to look at her as if she is this standard bearer for Black women and for the rights of, for racial progress and for feminism and everything. Any person who would allow sexual predators to walk the street as early as possible without the full penalty applied when they've already been adjudicated to be guilty as a judge, right? That person is a disgrace to whatever cause they are. I don't care whether it's feminism, I don't care whether it's racial equality or whatever. Those two things cancel out. In fact, more than cancel out. It is something that I think is basic to our definition of decency, right? You don't allow people to prey on children, okay? And this piece also from MSNBC is talking about how, Black women are used to this type of treatment or whatever it is. This is the type of treatment, okay? You want to complain about the treatment of Ketanji Brown Jackson. She has to be confirmed just like every other person is confirmed at the Supreme Court. And for her, the best thing she could have done was to prepare for the questioning by Josh Hawley, prepare for the questioning by John Kennedy or Ted Cruz or Marsha Blackburn, because that's their job. Their job is to screen the person who's going to be the nominee. And I'll tell you another thing. Don't make this into a partisan or racial statement on my part. I did not feel, even though I'm white, even though I am, uh, in broad terms, a conservative, more so a libertarian, I did not feel that Brett Kavanaugh should have been in the Supreme Court. Nothing to do with any of the allegations against him. I think that the Patriot Act disqualified him. He was one of the architects of the Patriot Act. So I felt when he was nominated and I heard about his role in crafting the Patriot Act that Donald Trump had made a major mistake in nominating him. And I think that, maybe he deserves, based on his career qualifications, to be on the court, but that position was too far from me. Since then, he's been on the court. I accept it. I don't think that it's necessarily something to be happy with. Some of his rulings I'm unhappy with. I think that with this nomination, Ketanji Brown Jackson, it is way beyond the pale of what that was in, whatever were Kavanaugh's faults, and they existed. They're nothing compared to hers. That's about it. I'd like to have you please subscribe to me on Odyssey, Rumble, BitChute, YouTube, Podbean, Gab, Mind, Substack, Telegram, or Getter, and reach out. You can leave a message or a comment on any of those, and we'll talk again later. Have a great night, and peace.